All right, it's another day. It's another episode of Your Daily Scrum with professional Scrum trainers Todd Miller and Ryan Ripley. I'm Ryan, that's Todd. We get together each and every day to talk about Scrum and Scrum adjacent topics that could help you and your teams deliver a little bit better each and every day. Like and subscribe so you never miss a video. Check out the description. You might learn about our book, which is right there. Fixing Your Scrum, Practical Solutions to Common Scrum Problems. Let's see. We teach a lot of courses. There's a few links to a new course, Professional Scrum Facilitation Skills. It's the newest scrum.org course. Todd helped create it. We both taught a lot of betas of it. We're ready to, it's live.
Yeah, let's do this. I'm pumped. We got a class coming up in like a month.
Yeah, get in there. It's guaranteed to run. We'd love to see you there. All right, Mr. Miller, we have another one of these interesting, not necessarily Scrum, but Scrum adjacent. Definitely related to team dynamics. Today it's what is Dunbar's number?
Yeah, I think it's really team and organizational dynamics if we consider Dunbar's number. So Dunbar's I'll read the description if you can't see the screen. Is a suggested cognitive limit to the number of people with whom one can maintain stable social relationships. Relationships in which an individual knows who each person is and how each person relates to the other person. So this is from something that was created in the 90s by an anthropologist, Robin Dunbar. And he proposed that humans can comfortably maintain 150 stable relationships. I'd even say that's probably on the high side, but that's what he suggested. I think this is really interesting to unpack, Ryan. So what it is basically saying is humans are incapable of maintaining anything above 150 stable relationships from a cognitive perspective. And I agree. I agree.
I don't even know if I could name 50 people that I like.
Right. Yeah, we'll bring this image up here.
Yeah, it's I think this has always felt right. Whether or not it is, I mean, it's, Todd, you and I are we're members of a number of communities that have gone from this number and then well past it, and you see the impact. I always think of my church. It's got far more than 150 people in it. And so they break things out by, there's an 8:15 service, there's a 9:45 service, there's an 11:15 service, there's different Bible studies, there's different groups. And there's basically structures in place that get the numbers back down to, like, we know, my wife and I know all the people in the first service. And so we recognize people and you build but if we go to a different service, we're lost again, right? Because we're not, and I think those structures in all large groups get put up based around this number, whether it's intentional or not, because around a 150, man, you just get lost.
Yeah. And this, I think that what this makes me think of is like, I'm a big fitness dude, right? Like that's one of the things I really enjoy in my life. I've done CrossFit coaching for quite a long time. And so one of the things that CrossFit prides itself on is a sense of community in a lot of the gyms. And I've been in gyms where it's far exceeded 150 and that sense of community isn't the same, right? So I feel like at 100 or 150 members, you can understand who connects, maybe who's married to one another, who's friends with one another, their skill level, their capabilities. You kind of recognize where you need to coach and how you need to operate. So you have a class of 15 people, and you know that person had a pre-existing knee injury and they can't go the whole way down in a squat.
Yeah.
And so you start to pick up on these little things. But when you have 400 people, you can't remember. Right? Like you can't, I need to even say like 100, it becomes difficult to remember, but you get like 300 or 400 people that are members in a gym, and you start to forget those things or people's potential or capability. And so that makes it harder to navigate. It makes it harder to give instruction. It makes it harder to figure out where the strengths and weaknesses are. And let's think about that to an organization, right? So if you're out there, you're coaching, you're involved in an organization, maybe you're a scrum master, product owner, any really a management position or a developer, how can you possibly know if your group, your area is thousands of people, where you start or where the problems really lie, right?
Todd, have you ever noticed that in groups that size, it almost becomes like a competition begins to become memorable, to become one of the 150 that everybody knows?
Mm-hmm.
And you see that play out in positive and negative ways, and the group dynamics get weird. And I think it's why we really like liberating structures to an extent, because it really breaks down people into smaller groups that can build relationships, and we can bring ideas back to a larger group after that occurs. And I think this limit, and whether the actual number is 125 or 200, I think the ballpark feels right. We start exceeding this number at our own peril if we don't have the right guides and guards and structures in place that allow people to actually have community and relationship. Because past this number, I don't think community exists. Do you?
Yeah, I don't think I think you'd probably have to start to think about sub communities, right? And this is where to segue this into our previous video that we talked about, the complexity and people inserting that into Scrum. When you start to think about scaling and all the things that you talk about with scaling, how impossible does it get with this amount of people, right? It's just unbelievable that you could have that many people and trying to scale and make everybody do the same sprint cadence and these kinds of things. It's actually preposterous that you would think it would even work. And I think this theory holds true with that.
But what, Todd? We have release train engineers. It all.
Yeah,
that's just a train wreck.
Yeah. I just don't, and I'm sure that you could argue that there shouldn't be this many people on something like a release train or in big room planning, but I've seen it. I have seen 300 people on those things, and you could say, well, that's not what it's supposed to do, but the reality is that stuff's happening. So I think we need to stop it. Right?
You know what? You and I have an affinity for a particular type of vehicle. I used to own one. You currently own one. And to build their new transmission system was, I think, 400 people involved. And how they managed that was amazing. And I mean, this happens, to your point, Todd, all over the place. Like whether or not people, that shouldn't happen. Well, it does. It happens a lot. And the time and money and effort spent to manage that level of complexity is really significant. And it's probably because, at least in part, we've exceeded this number.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, something interesting to be cognizant of in your organization, to be cognizant of in your product development efforts.
Yeah, and as you're working with the organization, the dynamics happening around you in the organization could be impacted because this number is at play.
Yep.
End screen time. Be sure to like and subscribe so you never miss a video. Check out our socials. We're on Facebook, LinkedIn, and Twitter, and Instagram soon to follow. Some videos are going to pop up here. It's our framework course, Learn Scrum from the comfort of your own home, with videos that are self-paced and free. And then you can go take your assessment and rule the world. We also have an EBM course and a facilitation series starting up. Those can help you as well. Some merch is going to pop up. Grab yourself a hoodie. They're pretty sweet. All right, for Todd, I'm Ryan. Go forward and do some great Scrum things. Story points are trash. Don't violate the Dunbar number. We'll see you tomorrow.